If Ethereum gets a bounce soon, Bepro and Polkamarkets are likely going to give a very strong bounce along with it, per my today's Ethereum analysis. PDEX, on the other hand, I'm not for sure what's going to do, but let me show you what I think of all three of these coins per my today's Ethereum analysis. Are you ready? Let's go. Here is Bepro not versus the dollar. Not versus the dollar. It is versus Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin tanks and if Bepro stays level, so the US dollar value doesn't change, then this will go up. So it is possible that this chart, the price on this versus Bitcoin goes up, although the US dollar value doesn't change. Okay, so let's make that very clear. Let me take off the EMAs. I don't need any EMAs. All right, also, I want to be very clear with this that I personally have already scooped up, okay, a couple million Bepro at this line. I bought in the Bepro on the USD on the tether chart, but I did it based off my analysis. So what does that mean? If you're not a part of the community, I haven't already alerted you about this, so you just follow me on YouTube or you're stumbling upon this. So most YouTubers won't tell you this. I want to be very clear. Today, at the same day I'm making this, I bought a couple million Bepro because this is happening. So if you see my analysis and today you go out and buy, all right, you're buying after me. I want to be very clear. So I'm just full transparency. I've already bought this today. However, I thought from a technical analysis standpoint, it's a very important line. So I want to cover it for you. Okay. All right. So I want to be super transparent with that. And I even told you roughly, I might have bought like 2.1 million or something like that. Not an insane amount. Wrong transition. Sorry. But that's my transparency. However, take a look here. If Ethereum were to get a bounce, today, tomorrow, per my analysis, or so if it's the sooner option rather than later, look at all these bounces. I mean, one bounce off of it, 94%, another bounce, 133%, another bounce, 73%. This one went below. So some of the smaller bounces, that's versus Bitcoin, still 30%. Some of the smaller ones. So before it ended up tanking, and so this tanking, so this part here, Bepro price wasn't really tanking down versus the dollar. This is when Bitcoin started to scream, but Bepro price kept going like sideways and down, not aggressively. And so therefore versus Bitcoin, it did go down aggressively. Does that make sense? Just like Bepro can rise up aggressively versus Bitcoin without the US dollar value going up. However, take a look at this line. It typically gets really, really strong bounces from it. Even the last one, where did it bounce? The versus the dollar, it had an insane bounce off of this line once the BTC chart hit this line, and versus Bitcoin during Bitcoin's bounce, right? So Bitcoin was bouncing after July versus Bitcoin as Bitcoin went up. Bepro made a 300% gain versus Bitcoin. All right, so so that's really the analysis on that's the best chart you can be looking at for Bepro is versus the Bitcoin chart specifically. But next, what we're going to do is I'm going to dive into the US dollar chart on Bepro, then I'll go into POLK and PDEX, and then we'll continue on with this video. Before we do, make sure you help me continue making videos for you. All right, hit the like button for me, and also leave me a comment down below, or you're going to stub your toe. I wasn't going to rhyme today, but I couldn't think of anything else. Just leave me a comment, random comment. It helps the algo so I can continue making videos. Also, what's going to help you even more if you subscribe and make sure that you hit the bell specifically and select all alerts, because this is time-sensitive info. And if you want me to deliver it to you in a time-sensitive fashion, you got to hit that bell and hit all alerts. And let's go ahead and get back into these charts. Ask me questions directly and live with your microphone and camera on. Links to the Discord community in the description section. Follow me on Twitter at @CosasVerdes2, CosasVerdes with the number 2 after. There's a scammer with CosasVerdes3, heads up. If joining an online community is not your thing, but you still want exclusive content above and beyond what's offered on YouTube, hit the join button down below to explore your options. All right, back to Bepro. Let's go to the dollar chart. So if Ethereum chooses to bounce, all right, if Ethereum chooses to bounce, Bepro will likely bounce up with it. BPRO is finally hitting this line that this box that I've had drawn here for quite a while, per my live calls on my Discord community. So this is kind of a bounce point. It has a strong chance. However, it could take a couple weeks, right? So if you just do something similar like this and then bounce, that's late February until it gets the true bounce. So if you're, so I could have pulled the trigger way too early, in which I might just dollar cost average, I might bail. I'm not really for sure how I'd play that, but, so zooming into this box, not only might I be trapped in this position for almost a month and a half, but, price will go down 20% from there, and I'm stuck in it for a month and a half. So there are some big warning signs on the US dollar chart. However, the Bitcoin chart is saying it's got a strong chance for a bounce. So I'm going to go ahead and try to play it from an altcoin perspective, even though I'm not trading altcoins very much outside of Dash for accumulation purposes, but this looks like a no-brainer, so I went, moderately lightly in this position. So if you do end up getting a bounce, there are a couple of areas that this could go to. So my favorite, instead of using fibs, I typically like drawing a projection tool, roughly 45-degree angle down, something to this effect, and I can see BPRO bouncing into this area. I don't know how far in, but I would start taking profits most likely within this projector tool, because that, a lot of times when things are going down and they start recovering, right? But they go down, they get a strong bounce. I don't chase that bounce. I wait for the projector tool. And this has saved me so many times. I just go like that, and I tell myself, don't chase these green candles. Wait for it to come back down. So it works on the downside too, right? So to the upside, I would say it might correct up, so it's a downtrend. So any pop up is essentially a correction. And credit to Crypto 𝘾𝐽𝐽𝐽, who voiced it like that in an excellent analysis that he gave the other day. I don't mention other YouTubers very much, but yeah, he mentioned it like that. So you're in a downtrend. Any pop up is a correction, just like to the upside. This was a correction. This was a correction. This looked like a correction. Those are corrections, but to the downside, an up move is a correction. So it might correct up to here in an aggressive move, which would also hit this horizontal. So two things aligning, very clear, obvious horizontal. All these areas of confluence or things that agree, and it can work its way up in here. And I would likely sell into that area, most likely, unless Ethereum and Bitcoin are giving me signals that the rally might keep going. But this would be my general area. And since it's already broken through this box, I guess I can get rid of that box. But I would be looking, to eyeball something to that effect to sell into that rally. Maybe the top of this box, I might hold out for something like that. But that's what I'm looking for on BPRO very specifically. And, if you like that sort of thing, even though I didn't give you exact levels here, but if you like to see, hey, where are, people buying and selling, not only do I have 8 live chats a week on my Discord, but I have a couple of live trading channels with 2 other individuals who are managing their own channel, within my Discord community. So you can pop in and see what they're doing on their personal basis to learn from an education standpoint. It's not really a live show to be asking a ton of questions, but you can, they're talking out loud, speaking through their trades, so you can get a little practice in from, almost like from a vicarious standpoint, as opposed to exactly copying their trades, but you can see live how other people are doing it. So that's another advantage to joining a community like mine. We got some live trading on there going on. All right, so here we go. So that's BPRO. Let's go ahead and move on to POLK. All right, so POLK also is hitting kind of a master, I don't know if I want to call it a master line, but it's hitting a very, very strong support level. So if Ethereum were to bounce, all right, this is likely going to bounce with it, and it's probably going to go up somewhere. I'm not going to give you exact levels, but, something to this effect. And how big of a bounce would that be? That's a 66% bounce potential. That's a big-ass trade in today's type of market. Now, in altcoin season, is that a big trade? No, that's moderately small. But I would take, right now, I would love to have a 68% trade. That would be hella awesome. Let's kind of see how long it would take to get up there. So so when it screamed up, it did it in 2 days. And then 70%, 2 days. That's not the same environment, so I wouldn't expect that. Maybe a slow crawl, something like this, maybe a bounce or two, then get up in there. That took 25 days for a 68% trade. So, so if you were to play into this POLK, for example, I personally am not buying any of this. I'm just going after BPRO, and I actually bought some movers as well if you want to know. But anyway, so I'm not trying to play too many altcoins right now. I want to be very, very light and mostly in Tether, move in and out of positions on, you know, Bitcoin and Ethereum and stuff like that, just kind of more intra-week trading or day trading. But so I want to be nimble with mostly Tether. But if you were to decide to try to get into this, right, just expect that, you know, one of the last more reasonable times it walked its way up from green line to pink box, it did take 25 days for that trade. And there was a lot of wishy-washy in the meantime, a lot of scares. But mostly what you're looking for here is when you get a bounce, you know, you might have a second retest, which has not happened yet. So it's hit the line the first time. So it might go up, come back down, then start making higher lows, then get into the box, and you probably want to sell into something to that effect. But if you were to, you know, if somebody were to try to trade an altcoin for a small trade that lasts a month or whatever, expecting potentially a green February, which as of now, I'm expecting a decent possibility of a green February for most of crypto. I might change my opinion on that here in a week or two, though, before February comes. But right now, I think it's a decent chance. So if somebody were to play that, you know, that might take all of February, and that might be more of a February play for a 68% trade. But I would not be looking for, you know, a move in the 200% range, nothing like that. I would sell into any type of bounce that Ethereum and Bitcoin get on any altcoin play. But again, 68% trade is pretty big, especially in this day and age. And I wouldn't expect it immediately, and it's not guaranteed to happen. If Ethereum goes down to 2,700, I mean, Polk is probably going to hit this line. Polk's probably going to go down 25 cents. If Ethereum chooses not to bounce till 2,500, so let me be very clear. There might not be a bounce at all right now, okay? Ethereum really and Bitcoin have a lot of pressure down. It might go straight to 2,700 before any type of relief rally. And if that were to happen, Polk will dive right through this area of support at around 36 cents, and it's going down to 25 cents most likely. So if that were to happen and Ethereum hit 2,700, at the moment Ethereum hits 2,700, Polk will likely be almost, you know, it'll be very close to 25 cents, okay? So a bounce right now is not guaranteed to happen. It looks like it has a chance, and I'm mostly observing it right now, and that's my play, but I plan to scramble out if I get the signs that I voiced in my Ethereum analysis today. You might want to check that out as well. All right, let's dive back into this. So I want to be very clear. I'm not trying to get you, you know, I'm not giving financial advice. I am not even giving a suggestion to buy here. I am saying if somebody were to take that play, right, it's not guaranteed to happen. It could easily come down here before any resemblance of a bounce. And then again, it might not bounce from there either, but these are the two most likely bounce points. So these would be the equivalent of Ethereum bouncing now or Ethereum bouncing at 2,700, just as my Ethereum analysis from today indicated. That would be essentially your play on Polk. And again, you know, you could use these moments as accumulation if you want, but personally, you know, y'all know my opinion on my opinion on the market. I think alts are going to bleed until probably September of this year. And that's so. I mean, I don't know if necessarily I would go for accumulation and dollar cost average at this time. But if you see a chance to sell into a rally, you know, that would be my observation on how to play alts right now, is buying in order to sell relatively soon, within a month or so, right? And being very careful in setting stops as well. All right, so let's get back into this. Okay. So again, if one were to trade this and try to take this, just remember it could take 25 days to get up there, if it gets up there at all. And specifically, I would expect a retest of this. So come up, retest, and potentially you could, you know, do something like this. You could try to sell into it twice. So get it here, sell for a 20% pop or 18% pop, rebuy at the line if it starts curling back around, and then rebuy, and then play a 60% pop. You could play into two pops. And again, a 20% trade in today's environment, right? And that trade wouldn't take as long, right? So let's take a look up here. Let's kind of see how this one worked. So from this point to that point, and then it turned back around, right? That only took 2 days. 2 days for a 20% trade? That's pretty solid. I would take a 20% trade in 2 days. And again, it's not guaranteed to happen. However, this would be my interpretation on if I personally were to trade this chart. I'm not a financial advisor. That is how I would do it. I would probably sell into it 2 times, specifically 2 times. All right, so let's get into PDEX. Ooh, actually, PDEX is looking better than what I thought. I haven't looked at this chart for a while. Let me look at the weekly. So you're in a weekly no trend. I mean, you technically, nah, this, I don't know, this might not be considered a low. This might be low and higher low, but you don't have a higher high, so it's in a no trend. So you have a higher low, but you don't have a higher high. So you have to have both of those in order to be in an uptrend. Since you don't have this, you're on a weekly no trend. It's kind of a funky scenario. Another funky thing about this chart, and so what I'm about to say, about this price action on PDEX, I want you to pay attention, because if you are not at the point in chart reading, right, to where what I'm about to show you isn't obvious and it sticks out like a sore thumb, pay attention to what I'm about to say, because this needs to stick out like a sore thumb for you, okay? So let me take off all the EMAs. So one thing that sticks out as a like a sore thumb right now is all this price action here. It's odd to me that, you know, you had a big drop down, right? So big drop down, you formed a much lower high, lower than this, and then you formed a lower low, and then got a higher local high. So very specifically, what sticks out like a sore thumb is, it's odd that this local high here was broken to the upside right after a lower low. Those typically don't go hand in hand. Now on Bitcoin, on a 4-hour and 1-hour chart, yeah, it happens all the time, because, you know, whales and exchanges and all that like to get people out of their longs before they'll dump it back down to the previous low or slightly lower right before the pump. That's common as of 2019, and yeah, so this play, so on Bitcoin this happens all the time, but on altcoins, you know, there's no whale manipulating this and doing that stuff. So I'm kind of surprised to see this, but on Bitcoin in these day and age, this is actually this is more common than higher lows, in my opinion. Particularly during choppy times. So this kind of sticks out like a sore thumb to me. Lower low, then a higher local high. So what PDEX needs to do is it probably needs to come back down and use this box as support right here, either the top of this section or the bottom. So it either needs to, if it's going to get back up into this range where it was previously, it needs to either the top of this area or the bottom of this area, this box. It needs to get a daily, and you can make this same box on your chart if you're a fan of PDEX. Zoom into the 1-hour, 4-hour, see how it interacts with this. It could bounce off the middle, but it needs to get a bounce somewhere over here if it's going to try to charge back up, zoom out, get back into this range, which honestly, it looks like it's going to give it a try. I'm surprised to see this price action on this altcoin. Actually, it doesn't look good yet, but if it were to get a higher low and start heading back up, you can bet your bottom dollar that it's going to break this local high, and it's going to come back up to here and bump its head on this gray line somewhere at about $15.20. If it can do two things, form a higher low, then start curling back up, it's most likely going to hit 15.20. And you know, if somebody were to take that play off of a higher low, shit, that's a 44% move. That's a pretty good trade. It's a pretty good trade if one were to take that. And again, this is not financial advice. I'm not suggesting anybody take that trade, because this is the market's down right now and the pressure's down. So, you know, like one of the safest things really is to be holding tether right now. Unless you're entering positions and you know exactly when you're going to bail. You know when your plan is going to be wrong. You know to get the hell out. So that is, but yeah, this price action is looking a lot better than what I thought, and it looks very specifically. So let me make this a little brighter so you can see this better. Yeah, it looks like PDEX wants to bump its head on that line that I just made, and if it really gets into a big rally, it bumps its head on, so a higher low comes up here, it could rally up to this line, and that would be even bigger trade. But first, I wouldn't, you know, chase this. I would wait for it to come down, at least let, you know, the 4-hour, well, the 4-hour Stokes are already coming all the way down. I would wait for the 4-hour RSI to maybe hit the white line or the red line before I would want to try that. So that would be my play on this if I were to try to get an attack on this. But again, I wouldn't. My personal opinion right now is I wouldn't be using, you know, these analysis on altcoins to accumulate at this time. Bitcoin and Ethereum look like they have a lot more downside. And what I'm specifically saying when I say bounce or anything, I don't mean recovery. I don't mean it's going to scream from here. I'm specifically saying that there's some type of bounce where it's tradable, and you would have to specifically have a plan to sell into it. You wouldn't be, you know, in these analysis, I wouldn't I wouldn't interpret my analysis as buying to accumulate, rather buying in order to sell within a relatively short period of time. All right, so if you did not check out my Ethereum analysis for today, so you know the 2 bounce points for most of the altcoin market, check out this video right here. And if you want to learn how to set up a chart just like mine, in order to understand more price analysts across YouTube like myself, click this video right here. It'll be totally worth your time to check out that video. And if you're new and you haven't subscribed, hit the circle right here in the middle. You just got Timified Worldwide. Peace.